But this time he did not cry. He only smiled in silence. Because destiny was already watching. If stories like this speak to your heart, subscribe and sit closer. There is much more to hear. Tund was the youngest son of Baba Adewale, a quiet 17-year-old boy with lean shoulders and thoughtful eyes that seemed older than his years, living in a small, dusty town in Ogun State, Nigeria. His elder brothers Kunal and Femi were broad-shouldered and loud, known in the neighborhood for their strength and sharp tongues, always laughing too hard and watching Tund with a jealousy they never bothered to hide. Their father owned a small cassava farm at the edge of town, where the red earth stained their feet daily and the hot sun baked their backs as they worked from morning until evening. Every morning, Mama Bose packed food into a single large metal container, steaming umla and yudu soup carefully prepared, trusting her sons to share it fairly under the mango tree beside the farm. But fairness rarely survived under that mango tree, because Kunal often whispered to Femi before lunchtime, and both would glance at Tund with secret understanding and cruel amusement. Tund was the most hard-working among them, rising before dawn to fetch water and sweep the compound. Yet he spoke little and endured much, believing respect for elders would one day speak for him. In the evenings, neighbors praised Kunal and Femi for their strength, while Tund carried tools quietly behind them, his thin frame overlooked, his contribution swallowed by his brother's loud stories. Beneath the normal rhythm of farm life and evening laughter, something heavy hung in the air, a quiet injustice that grew each day like weeds among healthy crops. One scorching afternoon, after hours of harvesting cassava, Tund walked eagerly toward the mango tree, his stomach tightening with hunger as he imagined the warm umla Mama Bose had prepared that morning. When he reached the container, he found it nearly empty, only oily streaks of soup clinging to the metal, while Kunal and Femi leaned back against the tree trunk licking their fingers. Tund swallowed hard and asked softly, "Brothers, did you forget to leave my share?" His voice trembling but respectful, hoping perhaps this time they had made an honest mistake. Kunal laughed loudly and wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, saying, "You work too slowly, Tund. Food waits for no one. Maybe next time you should run faster." Femi added with a smirk, "Destiny favors the strong, not the weak," then kicked the empty container toward Tund, watching him bend down to pick it up. The hunger burned deeper than the sun on his back, and tears threatened to betray him. Yet he forced them away because he knew complaining would only bring more mockery. That evening at home, Mama Bose asked gently if the food was enough, and Tund nodded with a faint smile, unwilling to expose his brothers or cause trouble in the house. But inside his chest something shifted quietly, a seed of resolve planted in the soil of humiliation, whispering that this injustice would not define his future. The next day, the same cruelty repeated itself, and again Tund arrived to find nothing but scraps, while Kunal stretched lazily and said perhaps the wind ate your portion today. Femi began hiding the container before Tund returned from fetching water, forcing him to search around the farm like a thief, their laughter echoing across the dry fields. One afternoon, Tund gathered courage and said, "Brothers, we are family, why treat me this way?" His voice steady though his heart pounded heavily in his chest. Kunal stepped closer and replied, "Because life is competition, not sympathy. If you cannot protect your share, how will you protect your destiny?" The words cut deeper than hunger, and Tund worked harder than ever, hoping effort would earn respect. Yet no matter how much cassava he uprooted, his portion still vanished. At night, he lay on a thin mat listening to crickets outside the mud house, whispering prayers into the darkness and asking God why silence seemed to be his only companion. He tried eating less at home so his parents would not notice his growing weakness, but Mama Bose watched him closely and worry began to crease her gentle face. Still, Tund endured quietly, unaware that the very suffering meant to break him was sharpening a strength his brothers could neither see nor steal. Weeks passed and Tund's cheeks grew hollow, yet his eyes shone brighter with determination, as though some hidden fire burned within him stronger than the hunger clawing daily at his stomach. One afternoon, Baba Adewale announced that a wealthy agricultural investor would visit the farm soon, searching for one hard-working young man to sponsor for advanced training in Lagos. Kunal's eyes widened with excitement, and Femi straightened his shoulders proudly, already imagining themselves leaving the village and escaping the dusty life they secretly despised. That evening, Kunal pulled Femi aside and whispered, "We must ensure Tun never stands out before the visitor. He must look weak and incapable as he truly is." The following days, they secretly reassigned the heaviest tasks to Tund, hoping exhaustion would slow him down. Yet he carried them without complaint, sweat soaking his faded shirt. When Mama Bose offered him extra food at night, he refused gently, saying, "Mama, give it to my brothers, they need strength," hiding his pain behind a calm, respectful smile. Femi began spreading rumors in the village that Tund was lazy and slow, planting seeds of doubt so that when the investor arrived, no one would recommend the quiet youngest son. But destiny listened differently from man, and while schemes thickened around him, an unseen opportunity prepared to rise from the very soil they forced him to till. If this story is touching you already, subscribe and stay with us. The most important part is about to unfold. The morning the investor arrived, Tund felt dizzy from hunger, yet forced himself to stand tall, watching a shiny black Jeep roll into the dusty compound like a symbol of distant possibilities. Kunal quickly stepped forward, boasting loudly about his strength, while Femi demonstrated exaggerated skill with a hoe, both carefully blocking Tund from approaching the well-dressed visitor. When Baba Adewale called for Tund to showcase his harvesting method, Kunal interrupted, saying, "Father, he is unwell and weak today. Let him rest, so we do not embarrass ourselves." The investor glanced at Tund's thin frame and hesitated, and for a painful moment the boy felt invisible again, as though all his silent labor meant nothing before polished shoes and confident smiles. Tund lowered his eyes and whispered, "Perhaps they are right, I am only the smallest," his hope trembling like a fragile leaf under harsh wind. As the inspection continued without him, he walked slowly toward the back of the farm, fighting tears and asking quietly, "God, have you forgotten me too?" Under the familiar mango tree, he sank to his knees, clutching the dry earth in his fists, feeling emptier than the metal container that had so often mocked his hunger. Yet even in that crushing silence, a strange calm settled over his heart, as if destiny itself leaned close and whispered that this humiliation was not the end of his story. As Tund knelt beneath the mango tree, he heard footsteps behind him and turned to see the investor standing quietly, having observed everything from a distance without the brothers noticing. The man introduced himself as Mr. Okafor and said softly, "Young man, I have been watching you for days before today, because true character reveals itself when no one applauds." Tund blinked in surprise and replied, "Sir, I only did what my father taught me, which is to work faithfully even when nobody sees or praises you." Mr. Okafor smiled and said, "Your brothers speak loudly, but your actions speak louder. I saw who carried the heaviest loads and who arrived earliest every morning." He then revealed that he had asked villagers privately about each son, and many mentioned Tund's humility and diligence despite the cruel rumors spreading around the town. Tund felt tears rise again, but this time they carried relief, not shame, as hope slowly replaced the heavy weight that had pressed upon his chest for weeks. Mr. Okafor placed a firm hand on his shoulder and said, "Strength is not noise, but endurance, and destiny often hides behind suffering to test the heart." In that quiet moment beneath the mango tree, the direction of Tund's life shifted gently yet powerfully from silent pain toward unexpected promise. Later that afternoon, Mr. Okafor gathered the entire family under the mango tree, his expression calm but firm, while villagers paused their chores nearby, sensing that something serious was about to unfold. Kunal folded his arms confidently and asked, "Sir, have you chosen the strongest among us?" Clearly expecting praise as Femi nodded eagerly beside him. Mr. Okafor cleared his throat and replied, "I have chosen the one whose character feeds others even when his own stomach is empty," causing murmurs to ripple through the watching neighbors. Femi frowned and said, "That cannot be Tund. He is weak and slow," his voice rising with disbelief as sweat gathered on his forehead. Tund stepped forward quietly and said, "Brothers, I never competed with you. I only worked as best as I could and trusted God with the rest." Mr. Okafor then revealed how he had witnessed the stolen meals and cruel words, describing each incident in detail until Kunal and Femi lowered their eyes in shame. Baba Adewale's face hardened with disappointment as he turned to his elder sons and asked, "Is this how you treat your own blood?" his voice heavy with wounded authority. Finally, Mr. Okafor announced that Tund would travel to Lagos for full agricultural training, and in that decisive moment the brothers realized they had stolen food but never his destiny. Silence settled heavily after the announcement, and Kunal felt his confidence crumble as villagers exchanged knowing glances that stripped away the false image he had carefully built for himself. Femi stepped forward slowly and said, "Tund, forgive us. We were jealous of your quiet strength," his voice trembling with regret he could no longer hide. Tund looked at his brothers and replied, "I held no hatred in my heart, because I believed God sees what men ignore," his calm tone softening the tension. Baba Adewale ordered Kunal and Femi to apologize publicly before the gathered neighbors, reminding them that leadership begins with integrity, not loudness or selfish ambition. Mama Bose wiped tears from her eyes as she embraced Tund, whispering, "My son, your patience has spoken louder than revenge ever could." Within days, preparations began for Tund's journey to Lagos, and the once mocked youngest son now walked through the village greeted with respect and admiration. Kunal and Femi returned to the farm humbled, working harder without arrogance, knowing their actions had nearly cost their family honor and trust. Justice did not arrive with punishment alone, but with exposure and growth, proving that truth eventually rises like the sun over even the darkest fields. Years later, Tund returned from Lagos as a trained agricultural consultant, his once thin frame now strong with confidence, driving into the village not with pride, but with gratitude. He introduced modern farming techniques that increased harvests across Ogun State, ensuring families earned better income and children no longer went to bed hungry. Kunal and Femi worked beside him respectfully, often telling younger boys never despise the quiet one because greatness does not always shout before it arrives. One evening under the same mango tree, Tund shared a meal with his brothers from a large steaming pot, smiling gently as they served him first without hesitation. He said softly, "Food can be stolen, but destiny cannot, because what God plants inside a heart no man can uproot with cruelty." Mama Bose watched her sons laugh together and thanked God for turning rivalry into unity, her heart lighter than it had been in many years. Baba Adewale often reminded villagers that character is wealth greater than land, and that endurance during injustice shapes leaders more than comfort ever could. And so in that quiet Nigerian town, the story of Tund became a living lesson that patience, integrity, and faith guard a destiny no thief can steal.